All you have to do is jump.
You want me to jump?
Jump.
Men in Black 3, Complete Analyses and Explanations. These are analyses and explanations of the film Men in Black 3. The narrative structure is built upon a time paradox that is both the engine of the plot and the key to its emotional resolution. Agent J's sudden realization that Agent K has been dead for over 40 years, a fact erased from everyone's memory except his own, establishes a compelling mystery. This isn't merely an assassination, it's an ontological deletion. The villain, Boris the Animal, achieves a victory more complete than simple murder by severing K from the timeline, thereby undoing all his contributions, including Earth's planetary defense. These are analyses and explanations of the film Men in Black 3. The time travel mechanics employ a predestination paradox, or closed loop, which is crucial for the story's coherence. J always went back in time. His actions in 1969 are what created the present he knew. This is elegantly demonstrated in the final act, where young J is present at Cape Canaveral, and his childhood encounter with K is what subconsciously drew him to the MIB in the first film. The loop is perfectly sealed, with J being both the cause and effect of his own history. These are analyses and explanations of the film Men in Black 3. Boris the animal represents a more personal and effective villain than the series' previous antagonists. His motivation is pure, visceral revenge against Kay, who not only captured him, but also shot off his arm. His very biology, being a hive organism that houses deadly darts, makes him a physical threat, but his cunning in exploiting time travel to erase his enemy's legacy elevates him. His escape from the lunar prison, Lobsterfest, is a darkly humorous yet terrifying display of his ruthless ingenuity. These are analyses and explanations of the film Men in Black 3. The 1969 setting is more than a nostalgic backdrop. It serves as a cultural mirror for Jay's character. As a black man in the late 60s, Jay experiences overt racism, such as being barred from a club, which contrasts sharply with the race-blind authority his MIB badge confers. This historical context adds a layer of social commentary often absent in the franchise, highlighting how the MIB organization operates outside of, yet parallel to, human societal conflicts. These are analyses and explanations of the film Men in Black 3. Josh Brolin's portrayal of young Agent K is a masterclass in character continuity. He doesn't just mimic Tommy Lee Jones's voice and mannerisms. He embodies a younger man who possesses Kay's inherent decency and intelligence, but has not yet been hardened by the weight of cosmic solitude. This performance allows us to see the man Jay never knew, more hopeful, more vulnerable, and capable of a warm relationship with Agent O than Agent O's younger self. These are analyses and explanations of the film Men in Black 3. Griffin, the Arcadian alien, is the film's philosophical heart. His ability to perceive all possible futures simultaneously is portrayed as a burdensome form of omniscience. He doesn't see the future. He sees every branching path, living in a state of perpetual anxiety and wonder. This middle knowledge makes him the ultimate chaotic neutral guide. His role underscores the film's theme that while the future is fluid, certain fixed points, like the need for the ArcNet, are inevitable. These are analyses and explanations of the film Men in Black 3. The ArcNet device is the central MacGuffin, but its function is clearly defined, a global shield that prevents the Boris species from invading. The quest to secure it from Griffin and attach it to the Apollo 11 rocket cleverly integrates the film's plot with a pivotal historical event. It reinforces the MIB's unseen hand in human history, suggesting they were the silent architects ensuring Apollo 11's success for reasons far beyond national pride. These are analyses and explanations of the film Men in Black 3. The emotional core of the film is the revelation of Jay's personal history with Kay. The climax at Cape Canaveral reveals that Kay neuralized the young boy Jay after his father, Colonel James Darrell Edwards Jr., died saving Kay's life from Boris. This act was one of protection, erasing the trauma, but it also created a lifelong, invisible tether. Kay watched over Jay from afar, explaining his immediate recognition and gruff mentorship in the first film. It recontextualizes their entire relationship as one of paternal debt and love. These are analyses and explanations of the film Men in Black 3. The film explores the theme of choice within destiny. Griffin constantly presents choices, knowing their outcomes. He gives Jay the jump or don't jump advice for the time leap, and later, he knows which version of a choice will lead to success. This suggests that while the broad strokes of history are fixed, the ArcNet must be deployed. The paths individuals take to secure that destiny are a matter of free will, guided by character and courage. These are analyses and explanations of the film Men in Black 3. The production's troubled history, with its famously unfinished script leading to a shutdown, is ironically invisible in the final product's most praised aspect, its character-driven plot. The focus on Jay and Kay's relationship suggests that the core emotional beat, the revelation of their shared past, was the anchor point around which the rest of the time travel mechanics were built, giving the spectacle a necessary human foundation. These are analyses and explanations of the film Men in Black 3. The visual design of the 1969 MIB headquarters and its aliens is a deliberate aesthetic choice. Rick Baker created retro aliens with a more practical, analog feel, reminiscent of 1950s sci-fi. This contrasts with the slicker, digital aliens of the 2012 present, visually reinforcing the time period and honoring the franchise's roots in practical creature effects. These are analyses and explanations of the film Men in Black 3. The film serves as a corrective to Men in Black 2, which many felt diluted the partnership's magic. By making the story entirely about salvaging and understanding that partnership, The third installment recenters the franchise on its original strength: the dynamic between the cynical, experienced veteran and the brilliant, impulsive rookie. It adds layers of depth that enrich rewatches of the entire trilogy. These are analyses and explanations of the film Men in Black 3. The character of young Agent O provides a glimpse into K's potential for romance and a life beyond the MIB, which he ultimately sacrifices. Her presence in 1969 and her clear affection for K adds tragedy to his older self's solitude. It suggests that the decisive, world-saving actions K took in 1969, which defined Earth's future, also cost him his own chance at personal happiness, further explaining his later sternness. These are analyses and explanations of the film Men in Black 3. The climax's action on the Apollo 11 launch gantry is a triumph of high-stakes suspense. It physically places the fate of the world on the shoulders of J and K during one of humanity's most iconic endeavors. The race against the clock, with Boris mutated into a monstrous form, is a classic action sequence, but its power derives from the personal duel. J and K are not just saving the future. They are avenging J's father and securing their own partnership. These are analyses and explanations of the film Men in Black 3. The film's conclusion provides perfect closure. In the restored present, J now knows the truth of his father's heroism and K's lifelong guardianship. The final scene at the cemetery, where K silently acknowledges J's unspoken knowledge, is a profoundly moving moment of understanding between two men who rarely speak about feelings. It suggests their partnership will continue, but on a deeper, more equal footing, with the past's ghosts finally laid to rest. These are analyses and explanations of the film Men in Black 3. Thematic undercurrents of memory and identity run throughout. The neuralizer, usually a tool for cover-ups, is shown to be an instrument of both harm and profound protection. K's use of it on young J protected him from trauma, but also erased the memory of his father's true fate. The film asks whether it is better to live with a painful truth or a peaceful fiction, ultimately arguing that truth, however hard, is the foundation of genuine identity and relationship. These are analyses and explanations of the film Men in Black 3. The movie cleverly uses time travel to explore legacy. Boris seeks to destroy K's legacy by removing him from time. J's journey, conversely, becomes a quest to understand and preserve that legacy. In doing so, J actually becomes part of K's legacy, ensuring it endures. The film posits that legacy is not just about what you do, but about the lives you touch and shape, often without their immediate knowledge. These are analyses and explanations of the film Men in Black 3. Griffin's chaotic yet optimistic nature provides the film's unique tone. While everyone else is focused on a single linear goal, Griffin exists in a state of joyful multiplicity, savoring the beauty of every possible outcome, even amid danger. He represents a different way of engaging with a chaotic universe, not with rigid control like the MIB, but with adaptive wonder. His trust in J and K is the key that allows the correct future to unfold. These are analyses and explanations of the film Men in Black 3. The film's success lies in its balanced tone. It seamlessly blends the franchise's signature comedy, the time jump sequence, the strange 1969 aliens, with genuine pathos, J learning about his father. The humor never undercuts the emotional stakes, and the drama is leavened by witty banter. This balance, a hallmark of the first film, had been lost in the second but is expertly recaptured here. These are analyses and explanations of the film Men in Black 3. In the end, Men in Black 3 transcends its sci-fi comedy roots to deliver a story about fathers and sons, friendship and sacrifice. It proves that a franchise film can have elaborate visual effects and cosmic stakes while being, at its core, a profoundly human story about the unspoken bonds that define us and the hidden histories that shape our lives. It stands as the most emotionally resonant and narratively satisfying chapter in the original trilogy. The film's narrative is fundamentally a meditation on causality and the invisible threads that bind lives together. Jay's mission transcends a simple rescue, becoming a journey to the root of his own identity and his partnership's origin. This intricate plotting elevates the premise beyond mere spectacle, anchoring its fantastic elements in a deeply personal quest for truth. Boris the Animal's vendetta provides a villain with palpable motivation, his rage festering over decades in a lunar prison. His physical design, a blend of grotesque biology and tribal fury, makes him a uniquely threatening foe whose personal connection to Kay raises the emotional stakes far higher than a generic world conqueror ever could. The 1969 setting is employed not just for aesthetic, but for thematic contrast, highlighting how Jay navigates a world with visible social barriers. His MIB badge grants him authority in the shadowy world of alien affairs, yet in the human world of the past, he confronts prejudices that his modern persona usually transcends, adding a layer of historical weight to his character. Josh Brolin's performance is the film's linchpin, capturing the essence of a younger Kay with astonishing precision. He portrays a man still capable of warmth and romance, not yet armored by the loneliness of his future sacrifices. This portrayal makes Kay's evolution into the stoic figure Jay knows both tragic and understandable, enriching the character's entire arc. Griffin represents the film's philosophical core, an entity burdened by the perception of infinite possibilities. His existence challenges linear thought, presenting fate as a tapestry of choices rather than a single path. His guidance is pivotal, suggesting that navigating destiny requires both accepting fixed points and embracing the chaotic freedom between them. The closed-loop time travel paradox is executed with careful attention to internal consistency. Jay's presence in the past is not an alteration, but a fulfillment, ensuring key events like his childhood encounter with Kay remain intact. This structure avoids the common pitfalls of the genre, creating a satisfyingly coherent temporal puzzle. The revelation of Colonel Edward's sacrifice and Kay's subsequent neuralizing of young Jay recontextualizes the entire trilogy. It transforms Kay from a mere mentor into a silent guardian, a man who shouldered the burden of a friend's death and the covert protection of his son, explaining his initial sternness and deep, unspoken investment in Jay's success. The ArcNet serves as a clever narrative device, integrating the plot with the Apollo 11 mission. This synergy reinforces the MIB's secret role in history, positioning them as the unseen architects protecting humanity's milestones. The race to attach it to the rocket creates a thrilling convergence of historical drama and science fiction adventure. Production challenges, including the famously rushed script, are masked by the film's strong character focus. The central relationship provides a stable emotional foundation, allowing the time travel mechanics and action set pieces to orbit a solid core of character development and payoff. Visual design distinguishes the eras beautifully. The 1969 sequences utilize more practical effects and a warmer, grainier film palette, evoking a sense of nostalgia. The aliens of this period feel tactile and classic, a deliberate homage to the B-movie aesthetics that the franchise itself often playfully references. The film successfully rectifies the missteps of the second installment by returning to the emotional wellspring of the series, the J and K dynamic. By making the plot entirely about the preservation and understanding of this bond, it delivers the poignant closure that fans had longed for, providing a definitive endpoint for their story. Young Agent O's brief but significant role illuminates a path not taken for Kay. Their hinted romance suggests that the decisive actions he took in 1969, while saving the world, also mandated a lifetime of emotional solitude. This sacrifice adds profound depth to his character, framing his dedication as a lonely, heroic choice. The climax on the Apollo 11 gantry is a masterclass in escalating tension, merging a personal feud with a globally consequential event. The physical struggle against Boris is heightened by the symbolic weight of the moment. J and K are not just fighting a monster, but securing humanity's future and honoring a paternal legacy. Griffin's middle knowledge offers a nuanced take on destiny. He does not see one future but all futures, making his optimism a conscious choice amidst chaos. His character argues that even with omniscience, agency remains, and hope is a necessary selection from a spectrum of possibilities. The final scenes provide a quiet, powerful resolution. The restored present is unchanged yet fundamentally different for Jay, who now possesses the hidden history of his life. The unspoken understanding at the cemetery speaks volumes, concluding their journey with a mature, earned silence that is more affecting than any dialogue. The neuralizer's dual nature is explored with new complexity. Traditionally a tool for convenience, it is revealed as an instrument of profound emotional management. Kay's use of it on young Jay was an act of mercy, yet it also erased a vital truth, exploring the ethical dilemma of whether protection justifies the manipulation of memory. Legacy is a central theme, examined through both Boris's destructive aim and Jay's preservative quest. The film posits that true legacy is intergenerational and often invisible, built not on public acclaim but on silent sacrifice and the positive influence passed on to others, as seen in Kay's guardianship of Jay. The film's tone is a skillful balance, weaving laugh-out-loud humor, the time-jump antique shop, the bowling alley alien, with moments of genuine heartache. This tonal control ensures the emotional payoff of the climax lands with full force, never feeling unearned or undermined by excessive levity. Boris's escape from Lobsterfest is a standout sequence that establishes his ruthless cunning. It showcases the franchise's signature blend of the bizarre and the threatening, reminding the audience that the MIB universe, for all its comedy, contains genuine and inventive dangers. The Apollo 11 launch serves as the perfect historical backdrop, its inherent drama and optimism mirroring the film's own stakes. By tying the fate of the world to this iconic moment of human achievement, the narrative borrows its inspirational power, making the victory feel grander and more significant. Kay's decision to neuralize young Jay is the story's tragic heart. It was a choice made from compassion that nonetheless created a lifelong distance. This act defines Kay's subsequent character, a man who carries immense, secret burdens and expresses care through action rather than words, shaping his entire relationship with the adult Jay. The representation of the MIB headquarters in 1969 highlights the organization's timeless nature. The technology is retrofuturistic, but the ethos remains identical, emphasizing that while tools change, their mission of cosmic management and secrecy is a constant throughout history. Griffin's role as a guide subverts the typical Oracle archetype. He is not detached and cryptic, but empathetic and actively helpful. His vulnerability, being hunted for his power, makes him a relatable figure and underscores the film's theme that unique perception is often a loneliness to be endured. Jay's experience with racism in 1969, though briefly touched upon, adds necessary texture to his character. It highlights his resilience and provides a stark contrast between the mundane bigotries of human society and the more existential, yet often more straightforward, conflicts he handles with the MIB. The film explores the concept of found family through the MIB organization. Jay's journey to save Kay is ultimately a fight for this familial bond. The revelation of their deeper history cements that this family was not found by accident, but was forged by fate and silent, long-standing devotion. The visual effects team's work on Boris's parasitic darts and his final monstrous form showcases a blend of CGI and practical design that remains tangible and frightening. This commitment to physicality and effects helps maintain the series' distinctive aesthetic identity. The sequence where Jay must make the temporal jump from the Chrysler Building is both a thrilling set piece and a metaphor for the leap of faith his entire journey requires. It visually represents the terrifying, uncertain vault into the unknown past that he must undertake based on trust and fragmented clues. Agent O's character, in both timelines, serves as a touchstone of rationality and empathy. Her presence connects the eras and suggests a constant, stabilizing intelligence within the MIB. Her younger self's connection to Kay adds a layer of poignant what-if to the narrative. The film's soundtrack subtly supports its dual tones, mixing the classic MIB theme with 1969 period music. The use of Don't Stop Me Now during Jay's time jump prep is a particularly effective needle drop, using upbeat rock to counterpoint and enhance the scene's inherent tension and absurdity. The resolution of the paradox is satisfying because it is character-centric. The timeline is saved not just by stopping Boris, but by Jay gaining the understanding that allows him to truly see his partner. The fixed point in time is not just the ArcNet's deployment, but the moment of connection between Jay and his own history. Boris's hatred is given specific physical catalyst, the loss of his arm to Kay. This tangible injury fuels his revenge, making his motivation visceral and understandable. It's a personal grievance writ large through time travel, proving that the smallest, most personal conflicts can have universe-altering consequences. The production design of the 1969 MIB car and gadgets maintains the franchise's love for sleek, minimalist tech with a period twist. These details, like the retrofuturistic communicators, ground the fantasy in a recognizable, cool aesthetic that is consistent with the series' world building. Griffin's explanation of seeing multiple futures allows for humorous and tense moments, as when he happily mentions various ways a situation could end in gruesome death. This unique perspective turns exposition into character development, making him endlessly fascinating and unpredictably reliable. The film examines the weight of knowledge. K bears the knowledge of Jay's father and his own role in erasing that memory. Jay spends the film seeking knowledge of a past he instinctively feels is missing. The narrative argues that while knowledge can be a burden, it is ultimately essential for authentic existence and healing. The final confrontation's location is thematically rich. K and Jay fight to protect a launch that represents human hope and unity. They are, quite literally, defending the future on the shoulders of a past achievement, a perfect physical metaphor for the entire film's mission. Young K's willingness to believe Jay's incredible story speaks to his open-mindedness and essential trust in his own instincts. This trait, somewhat sanded down in the older K, is what Jay rediscovers in his partner, reminding him and the audience of the idealistic agent K once was. The movie cleverly uses time travel to allow Jay to become his own inspiration. His determined pursuit in 1969 indirectly shapes the resilient character that would eventually catch K's eye. In a way, he is mentoring his own past, completing a profound cycle of influence. The ethical universe of the MIB is nuanced here. K's neuralizing of a child is a morally gray act portrayed as the best option in a terrible situation. It moves the device from a comic tool to a substance of serious consequence, deepening the franchise's philosophical considerations. Brolin's performance allows for moments of subtle humor that feel organic to K's character, a dry wit rather than the world-weariness of Jones's portrayal. This showcases the character's development, suggesting the humor was always there but became more internalized over a lonely lifetime. The film's success lies in its commitment to stakes that feel personal amidst the cosmic scale. The invasion of the Boris species is a genuine threat, but it is the threat to Jay's found family and the unraveling of his own life that drives the emotional engagement, making the resolution profoundly satisfying. Griffin's fate, choosing to stay in 1969 with his precious gem, underscores a theme of finding peace amidst chaos. His choice to embrace a simpler existence, even with his overwhelming perception, offers a counterpoint to the constant activism of the MIB agents. The costuming subtly reflects character arcs. Young K's slightly looser fit and different shirt style contrast with older K's rigid, perfect suit. Jay's 1969 outfit, while classic, marks him as slightly out of place, visually reinforcing his status as a temporal outsider. The film's pacing is deliberate, taking time to establish the mystery and Jay's isolation in the new timeline before launching into the back-in-time adventure. This build-up ensures the emotional and narrative stakes are fully understood, making the subsequent journey more urgent. The relationship between young K and young O hints at a shared history and mutual respect that could have blossomed. This unfulfilled possibility adds a layer of melancholy to K's later life, suggesting his dedication to the job came at the cost of a full personal life. Jay's adaptability is his greatest strength. He quickly learns to navigate the social landscape of 1969 and the altered rules of the past's MIB. This flexibility, a hallmark of his character, is what allows him to succeed where a more rigid individual might fail, proving he is the perfect agent for this fluid, paradoxical mission. The resolution does not require a grand speech. The understanding between Jay and K is communicated through looks and small gestures. This respects the characters' established personalities, men of action who communicate more through shared experience than through dialogue, providing a conclusion that is true to their nature. Ultimately, Men in Black 3 uses its science fiction framework to tell a human story about connection, sacrifice, and the hidden histories that define us. It proves that a franchise film can deliver spectacle, humor, and heart in equal measure, cementing its place as a thoughtful and emotionally resonant conclusion to a beloved trilogy. The film's dramatic tension is derived from the fragility of established relationships, as Jay is forced to physically chase the fading memory of his partner across a temporal chasm. This conceptual threat proves far more unsettling than any conventional weapon, positioning the narrative as a race against existential erasure rather than simple physical danger. The emotional stakes are masterfully intertwined with the mechanics of the plot, ensuring every action carries significant personal weight for the protagonist. The clever narrative device makes the audience feel the potential loss alongside Jay, transforming a sci-fi conceit into a relatable fear of losing one's foundational connections. Boris's characterization benefits immensely from a tangible backstory, his grudge festering in a lunar prison that visually represents cold isolation. This extended period of incarceration allowed his hatred to mutate into a singular, all-consuming purpose, giving his villainy a psychological depth often absent in franchise antagonists. His very biology, being a host to swarming predatory creatures, externalizes his internal chaos and lack of control. This physical manifestation of rage makes him a uniquely visceral opponent whose threat feels both personal to K and broadly catastrophic for Earth, elegantly connecting the intimate with the global. The historical setting operates as a narrative crucible, testing Jay's identity and resilience outside the familiar structures of the modern MIB. His encounters with period-specific prejudices create a dual-layered challenge where he must combat both alien threats and human ignorance, adding rich complexity to his mission. This context subtly comments on the MIB's own role as an institution that exists above such societal divisions, yet is staffed by individuals who carry their own histories. The era is not merely a backdrop, but an active participant in Jay's development, forcing him to rely on his core character when his institutional authority holds less sway in the human world. Brolin's interpretation goes beyond mimicry to explore the genesis of K's famous stoicism, portraying a man still capable of wry humor and romantic interest. This performance reveals the optimistic field agent whose later cynicism was hard-earned through decades of solitary guardianship and sacrifice. We witness the pivotal moments where his worldview begins to solidify, providing a tragic and compelling origin story for the demeanor Jay knows so well. This layered acting bridges two cinematic performances, creating a seamless and believable continuum for a beloved character that deepens the audience's understanding of his entire arc. Griffin's unique perception reframes the concept of destiny as a chaotic landscape of probability rather than a predetermined track. His ability to navigate this chaos, selecting the optimal path forward, positions him as the ultimate chaotic good entity within the MIB universe. His existential burden, the constant noise of infinite outcomes, makes his moments of decisive guidance all the more powerful, as they represent a conscious choice for hope amidst the din. This character serves as the film's philosophical compass, arguing that even within a multiverse of possibilities, intention and courage can steer toward a favorable resolution, offering a nuanced and optimistic view of fate. The closed-loop temporal structure is meticulously crafted, with Jay's actions serving to cement the timeline rather than alter it, a sophisticated approach that rewards attentive viewing. This narrative model elegantly sidesteps common paradoxes by making Jay an integral, always existing component of the past. Key moments, like his childhood encounter with the neuralizer, are revealed not as disruptions, but as foundational events that shaped his destiny. This intelligent plotting ensures the story remains internally consistent while delivering the satisfying revelation that Jay was always a part of the history he sought to save, making his journey one of self-discovery as much as rescue. The profound revelation of K's lifelong guardianship transforms every previous interaction between the two agents into a rewatchable tapestry of hidden meaning. This backstory adds a poignant layer of unspoken debt and paternal care to their professional partnership, redefining K's initial gruffness as a protective mechanism. The sacrifice of Jay's father creates a silent bond that explains K's immediate investment in the young recruit's potential, a detail that retroactively enriches the entire trilogy. This narrative choice masterfully uses the time travel premise to explore themes of legacy, mentorship, and the invisible threads of responsibility that connect generations. The integration of the Apollo 11 mission is a stroke of narrative genius, transforming a well-documented historical endeavor into a covert alien defense operation. This clever retconning reinforces the MIB's mandate as the hidden custodians of human progress, protecting our milestones from extraterrestrial threats. The physical act of placing the ArcNet on the rocket creates a thrilling synergy between a celebrated human achievement and a clandestine cosmic necessity. This plot point elevates the stakes by tethering the fate of the planet to a tangible, real-world event, blending historical drama with science fiction to create a uniquely compelling climax. Despite its notoriously turbulent pre-production, the final film exhibits a remarkable cohesion, particularly in its emotional through line. This suggests the core character dynamics served as an anchor, allowing the more complex time travel elements to be built around a stable, relatable relationship story. The focus on Jay's quest for understanding provided a solid foundation that likely guided script revisions, ensuring spectacle never overshadowed substance. The end result is a testament to the strength of the central partnership, proving that even within a high-concept plot, human connection remains the most vital special effect. The distinct visual language separating 1969 from the present day extends beyond mere period detail to encompass the very texture of the world. The past is rendered with warmer tones, more pronounced film grain, and a prevalence of practical creature effects, evoking a sense of tactile reality. This aesthetic choice does more than establish a setting. It subtly influences the viewer's perception, making the past feel more physically immediate and tangibly dangerous compared to the sleeker, digital present. This thoughtful design philosophy enriches the viewing experience, using cinematography and effects to deepen the narrative's temporal divide. By centering its entire narrative on the preservation of the JK partnership, the film performs a course correction for the franchise, returning to the emotional core that fueled its initial success. This focus allows for a deeper excavation of the characters' psyches, moving beyond the buddy cop formula to explore the roots of their loyalty. The story becomes a metaphor for the effort required to truly understand another person, to fight for their existence and the history you share. This elevates the sequel from a simple adventure to a meaningful commentary on friendship's enduring value, providing the poignant closure the series required. The hinted romance between young K and young O introduces a poignant road not taken, a glimpse of a life of connection that K consciously forsook. This fleeting possibility adds immense tragic weight to his character, framing his legendary career not just as a series of triumphs, but as a life of deliberate, lonely sacrifice. Her presence in 1969 serves as a reminder that every heroic choice has a personal cost, and Kay's ultimate legacy is built upon a foundation of such quiet, personal renunciations. This subtext enriches his heroism, making it more human and profoundly sorrowful. The final battle setting on the launch gantry achieves a perfect synthesis of personal vendetta and historical imperative. The vertical climb parallels the rising dramatic tension, while the countdown to launch imposes an inexorable deadline that amplifies every second of the struggle. J and K are not only fighting Boris, but are literally racing against the forward march of history itself, their personal mission directly linked to securing humanity's hopeful step into the cosmos. This confluence of stakes makes the action sequence uniquely gripping and thematically resonant, as the fate of the future is decided in the shadow of a symbol of human aspiration. Griffin's middle knowledge provides a fascinating lens through which to examine the nature of choice and anxiety. His condition represents an extreme metaphor for the human fear of making wrong decisions, paralyzed by the awareness of infinite potential consequences. Yet his character arc demonstrates that action, guided by compassion and courage, is the only way to navigate such a maze. He chooses to help J and K, actively selecting a path toward a hopeful future from the millions he can see, embodying the film's argument that optimism is a deliberate and brave act in the face of overwhelming uncertainty. The film's denouement is powerful in its quiet restraint, relying on shared understanding rather than exposition to heal the rift in the timeline. The restored present is identical, yet irrevocably changed for J, who now possesses the hidden truth of his own origin story. The final, silent communion at the cemetery speaks to the depth of a bond that has been tested across decades and now rests on a foundation of fully revealed history. This mature resolution respects the character's inherent masculinity and emotional language, offering closure through a glance that conveys more than any speech could, providing a deeply satisfying emotional payoff. The neuralizer is recontextualized from a comedic gadget into an instrument of profound ethical complexity, capable of erasing trauma, but also severing a person from their foundational truth. Kay's use of it on young Jay is portrayed not as a cold act, but as a terrible, compassionate choice made in the wake of a child's unbearable loss. This moment explores the weight of playing God with memory, questioning whether it is a mercy or a theft. It adds moral gravity to the MIB's arsenal, suggesting their power over perception carries a heavy responsibility and lasting consequences that ripple across lifetimes. The theme of legacy is explored through contrasting methodologies. Boris seeks to annihilate Kay's legacy through temporal deletion, while Jay fights to preserve it through understanding and action. The film's comedic elements are carefully deployed to complement rather than undermine the dramatic through line, often arising from character interaction or the inherent absurdity of the premise. Humor derived from Jay's culture shock in 1969 or Griffin's chaotic pronouncements provides necessary levity without sacrificing the stakes. This tonal balance is a hallmark of the franchise at its best, acknowledging the inherent weirdness of its universe while taking the emotional journeys of its characters seriously. The laughter earns the right to the tears, creating a holistic and engaging cinematic experience. Boris's breakout from the lunar prison Lobster Fest is a brilliantly staged sequence that establishes his threat level through ingenuity and brutality. The scene showcases the franchise's strength in creating memorable, bizarre environments that pose unique challenges. His method of escape, utilizing the alien life forms around him, demonstrates a predatory cunning and resourcefulness that makes him a formidable intellectual foe, not just a physical one. This early display of competence ensures the audience understands the magnitude of the threat now loose in the past, raising the tension for Jay's impending mission. The symbolic resonance of the Apollo 11 mission is fully leveraged, its cultural meaning of hope, unity, and progress mirroring the film's own thematic aspirations. By making the launch vehicle the delivery system for Earth's salvation, the narrative borrows the inspirational power of this historical moment. It suggests that humanity's greatest achievements often have unseen protectors, and that our collective steps forward are fragile, requiring guardians against the darkness. This alignment of plot and historical symbolism creates a climax that feels both epic and meaningfully connected to real human endeavor. Kay's fateful decision at Cape Canaveral represents the moment the character's future is cemented. He chooses the weight of secret knowledge and solitary duty over personal freedom. This choice, to neuralize Jay and shoulder the burden alone, is the true crucible that forges the older Jay knows. It is an act of heartbreaking sacrifice, where he accepts a lifetime of loneliness to grant a child a chance at a normal life. Understanding this moment allows Jay and the audience to fully comprehend the depth of his partner's character, transforming perceived coldness into recognized martyrdom. The retro design of the 1969 MIB headquarters and technology reinforces the organization's timeless nature through aesthetic evolution. The analog monitors, clunky communicators, and classic car all speak to an era-appropriate iteration of the agency's signature sleek secrecy. This attention to detail does more than establish setting. It grounds the fantastical organization in a tactile history, making it feel like a perennial institution that adapts its tools but not its core mission. It enriches the world building by showing, not telling, that the men in black have always been here. Griffin's role as an active guide rather than a passive oracle breaks from fantasy tradition, making him a participatory ally in the narrative. His vulnerability, being hunted for the very power that makes him valuable, creates immediate empathy and stakes for his survival. His interventions are driven by a desire to see a good future realized, making him an optimistic co-conspirator. This characterization ensures the philosophical element he embodies is dynamic and integrated into the action, preventing his scenes from becoming mere expositional digressions. The brief but pointed depiction of the social barriers Jay faces in 1969 adds a layer of realism and depth to his character's experience. It highlights his personal resilience and serves as a quiet reminder that the MIB's world of alien diplomacy exists alongside, but separate from, humanity's ongoing social struggles. This context makes Jay's ultimate success more triumphant, as he overcomes both extraterrestrial and terrestrial forms of prejudice through competence and force of will, proving his heroism is multifaceted. The concept of found family is tested to its extreme when that family is literally erased from reality. Jay's drive to restore Kay is a powerful testament to the bonds that define us beyond blood or official record. The revelation that their connection was predestined, forged by his father's sacrifice, deepens this theme, suggesting that some familial bonds are written in the fabric of history itself. The MIB becomes more than a job. It is the place where Jay's hidden legacy and his chosen purpose converge, fulfilling a destiny he was always meant to embrace. The visual and practical execution of Boris's parasitic darts and his final, monstrous form maintains the franchise's commitment to creature design that feels organic and threatening. The blend of CGI and practical effects gives his transformations a visceral, weighty physicality that purely digital creations often lack. This adherence to a tangible aesthetic, established by Rick Baker in the first film, preserves the series' unique visual identity, where aliens are often gloriously grotesque and palpably real within the heightened reality of the world. The temporal jump sequence is a masterful blend of tension, humor, and surreal visuals that encapsulates the film's tone. Jay's leap from the Chrysler Building, guided by Griffin's cryptic yet precise instructions, is a literal and metaphorical leap of faith into the unknown past. The bizarre, fleeting visions of different time periods during his fall visually represent the chaotic nature of time travel, making the process feel dangerous and unstable. This set piece successfully sells the mechanics of the journey while providing a thrilling and memorable cinematic moment. Agent O, in both her elder and younger incarnations, represents the steadfast, analytical conscience of the MIB. Her character provides continuity between the timelines and a touchstone of rational authority. The unspoken history with young K adds a layer of personal stakes to the institutional mission, suggesting that the agency's history is woven with such quiet, unresolved connections. Her presence assures the viewer that the organization is in capable hands, governed by intelligence and empathy, regardless of the era. The film's musical cues are strategically employed to enhance mood and character. The use of period-specific rock and roll grounds the 1969 scenes in their time, while the recurring, more orchestral MIB themes connect the eras and underscore the timelessness of the mission. The juxtaposition of a high-energy track like "Don't Stop Me Now" against the tense preparation for a dangerous time jump is a classic Sonnenfeld touch, using ironic or uplifting music to heighten rather than undercut the suspense and absurdity of the moment. The paradox resolves through character growth rather than technological deus ex machina. Jay saves the timeline by achieving the emotional understanding necessary to truly partner with K. The fixed point is not merely a physical event, but the moment of empathetic connection between the two men across time. This ensures the story's climax is intellectually satisfying, adhering to its own rules, while also being deeply moving, as the key to saving the future was always hidden within the dynamics of their relationship. The film's lasting success is rooted in its commitment to making the global stakes feel personal. The Boris species invasion is a genuine existential threat, but the engine of the plot is Jay's visceral need to restore his partner and uncover the truth of his own life. The audience invests in the fate of the world because they first invest in the fate of this relationship. This character-first approach ensures the climactic victory delivers both the thrill of a world saved and the profound satisfaction of a personal bond redeemed and deepened. Griffin's choice to remain in 1969 with his crystalline gem represents a desire for simplicity and static beauty amidst the overwhelming flux of his perceptions. He seeks an anchor, a single point of perfect focus to counteract the noise of infinite possibilities. This ending for his character offers a peaceful alternative to the constant motion of the agents, suggesting that finding one's own center is a valid response to chaos, and that guardianship can sometimes mean knowing when to step away and preserve something fragile and good. The costuming provides subtle, nonverbal character development. Young K's suit is identical in function but slightly different in cut and fabric, suggesting a man not yet fully hardened into the immutable institutional icon. Jay's borrowed 1969 suit fits him, but marks him as slightly out of sync with the era's precise style. These visual cues help the audience read the character's relationship to their time and to each other, with clothing acting as an extension of identity and status within the MIB's rigid hierarchy. The film's deliberate pacing allows for necessary moments of quiet mystery and emotional processing, particularly in the first act as Jay unravels the anomaly of K's absence. This build-up ensures the audience fully comprehends the bizarre and terrifying nature of the threat, not death, but erasure, before the adventure begins. This foundation of existential dread makes the subsequent race through time feel urgently personal, rather than a series of disconnected action sequences, as the emotional stakes are firmly established from the outset. The potential romance between K and O serves as the ghost of a life that could have been, a path of emotional fulfillment sacrificed at the altar of duty. This unfulfilled possibility hangs over K's later years, coloring his solitude with a tinge of regret and explaining his deep, if guarded, care for those within his small circle. It suggests that heroes are not forged solely in moments of action, but in the quiet, daily acceptance of what they must give up to protect others, adding a layer of poignant humanity to the archetype. Jay's fundamental adaptability is his superpower, allowing him to navigate the cultural minefield of 1969 and the altered protocols of a less technologically advanced MIB with equal savvy. This trait, his ability to think on his feet and blend into unfamiliar circumstances, proves to be the critical skill for a mission that is itself an exercise in temporal improvisation. It validates Kay's initial judgment in recruiting him, showcasing that the ideal agent is not just a fighter, but a flexible thinker who can thrive amidst chaos and paradox. The resolution's powerful silence is a testament to the film's respect for its characters' established emotional languages. J and K are men of action and dry wit, not grand confessionals. Their healed partnership is communicated through a look, a shared understanding, and a return to their familiar, bantering dynamic, now underpinned by unspoken history. This conclusion feels authentic to who they are, providing emotional closure without betraying their core personalities, and leaving the audience to feel the depth of what is now silently acknowledged between them. Ultimately, the film transcends its genre trappings to deliver a timeless story about the search for fatherhood, the debts between generations, and the hidden scaffolding of our lives. It uses the canvas of time travel and alien invasion to explore how our identities are shaped by unseen histories and silent guardians. By anchoring its spectacular elements in this deeply human exploration, Men in Black 3 secures its place as a thoughtful, emotionally resonant, and brilliantly executed chapter that honors and elevates the legacy of its iconic heroes. The narrative's architecture is a masterclass in utilizing speculative fiction to dissect the very nature of memory and legacy. Jay's quest becomes an archaeological dig into his own soul, unearthing the hidden foundations upon which his present identity was unknowingly built. This journey reframes his entire life as a palimpsest, with Kay's silent guardianship written beneath the surface text of his experiences. The emotional resonance stems from this peeling back of layers, revealing that the most formative relationships can be those we are consciously unaware of, yet are subconsciously shaped by. Boris's methodology of revenge represents a profound escalation in the franchise's threat hierarchy, targeting existence itself rather than mere life. His plan exploits the fragility of history, understanding that removing a single keystone can collapse an entire arch of reality. This intellectual villainy makes him uniquely dangerous, as he wields time as a weapon with the precision of a surgeon and the brutality of a vandal. His personal vendetta thus achieves a cosmic scale, demonstrating how intimate hatred can, when given the right tools, ripple outward to unravel the fabric of a world. The sociological dimension of 1969 is not a passive setting, but an active antagonist, confronting Jay with a form of terrestrial alienation that mirrors his usual extraterrestrial confrontations. Navigating this landscape requires a different kind of courage, one that deals with entrenched human ignorance rather than blatant alien menace. This duality enriches Jay's heroism, showcasing his adaptability and the core integrity that allows him to operate with authority in any era, even when the social contract of the time refuses to acknowledge his full humanity. Josh Brolin's embodiment provides a crucial thesis on how trauma and responsibility sculpt a personality over decades. His performance maps the emotional geography between the hopeful young agent and the isolated veteran, showing the erosion of openness and the fortification of resolve. We witness the specific moments, the loss of a friend, the burden of a secret, the sacrifice of love, that act as sedimentary layers, slowly forming the bedrock of the older K. This is not an impersonation but an excavation, giving emotional logic to a character we only knew in his later, compressed form. Griffin's existential condition offers a radical critique of omniscience, portraying it not as power, but as a paralyzing hypersensitivity to reality's infinite branching pathways. His character embodies the anxiety of modern choice overload rendered in cosmic terms, where every decision echoes across a multitude of potential worlds. His ultimate function is not to predict the future, but to identify and shepherd the best possible future into being, making him a curator of hope rather than a passive oracle. This active optimism in the face of overwhelming data is his most heroic and humanizing trait. The elegance of the closed-loop paradox lies in its emotional truth. We are all, in a sense, products of a past we can never fully see, influenced by actions taken on our behalf long before we understood them. The film literalizes this concept, making Jay a physical participant in the hidden events that made him. This structure validates the instinctual pull he always felt toward Kay, revealing it as a gravitational force born of this secret history. The plot thereby becomes a mechanism for revealing psychological and emotional truths, using time travel as a metaphor for self-discovery and the uncovering of personal mythos. The profound interconnection between Jay's father, Colonel Edwards, and Kay establishes a powerful theme of surrogate lineage and inherited honor. Kay's lifelong watch over Jay transforms from a duty into a sacred debt, a living memorial to his fallen friend. This recontextualizes their entire dynamic. Jay is not just a promising recruit, but a legacy to be honed, and Kay is not just a mentor, but a testament to his father's character. Their partnership becomes the living continuation of a bond forged in sacrifice, making their success a tribute that transcends generations. The Apollo 11 narrative thread brilliantly conflates human aspiration with planetary defense, suggesting that our greatest leaps forward are perpetually shadowed by cosmic dangers. The MIB's intervention frames the space race not just as a geopolitical endeavor, but as a strategic maneuver in a galactic Cold War. This layering imbues a known historical triumph with renewed wonder and secret significance, proposing that behind every collective human achievement, there may lie a hidden story of protection against unseen threats. It expands the film's scope to suggest a hidden history of our entire species. The production's behind-the-scenes turmoil ultimately catalyzed a focus on character that might have been diluted by a more polished, plot-heavy script. The necessity to build around the emotional core forced a narrative economy where every scene services the relationship. This often results in a purer, more focused story, as the spectacle must earn its place by enhancing rather than overshadowing the central character dynamics. The final film stands as a testament to the idea that compelling characters can provide a solid foundation even when the narrative architecture is being drafted in real time. The aesthetic dichotomy between 1969 and the present extends to the very philosophy of the MIB's operations. The past's analog solutions, relying on intuition, physical archives, and mechanical gadgets, contrast with the present's digital omnipotence. This shift mirrors Kay's own journey from a more intuitive, engaged agent to an administrator of a vast, impersonal surveillance system. The visual design thus comments on the trade-off between hands-on involvement and detached control, with Jay serving as a bridge between these two operational eras through his innate, timeless adaptability. The film's greatest success is its reclamation of the series' soul by prioritizing the chemistry that started it all. It understands that the spectacle of aliens and gadgets is merely the wrapping paper. The gift inside is the relationship. By making the plot a direct assault on that bond, the narrative invests the audience completely in its preservation. This approach transforms the film from a sequel into a culmination, providing the emotional payoff that makes the earlier adventures feel like necessary prelude to this final, defining chapter. The poignant shadow of Kay's sacrificed personal life with Agent O serves as the story's tragic countermelody. It illustrates the comprehensive cost of a life of secret service. Not just physical danger, but the forfeiture of intimacy and the quiet comforts of a shared future. This unfulfilled potential haunts Kay's characterization, making his dedication a form of beautiful, painful austerity. It suggests that the weight of the world is often carried on shoulders that have voluntarily shrugged off every other burden, including the lightness of personal happiness. The verticality of the climax on the launch gantry is a brilliant spatial metaphor for the narrative's ascent toward resolution. Each rung climbed is a step toward securing the future, with the ever-present risk of a catastrophic fall. The structure itself, a latticework of human ambition, becomes the battleground where primal hatred, Boris, confronts disciplined duty, Kay, and adaptive legacy, Jay. The rocket's imminent ignition adds a temporal ticking clock to this spatial race, creating a multidimensional suspense that is both physically thrilling and symbolically rich. Griffin's chaotic methodology embodies a postmodern approach to destiny, rejecting linear causality for a more fluid, probabilistic engagement with reality. His interventions are based on statistical likelihoods and emotional intuition rather than rigid prophecy. This makes him a perfect guide for a time travel narrative, as he navigates the timeline not as a fixed road, but as a shifting landscape of potentialities. His character ultimately argues that the future is not a destination to be reached, but a condition to be collaboratively and courageously built from the materials of chance and choice. The final scene's silent communion achieves a profound emotional resolution precisely because it rejects melodramatic exposition. The shared knowledge between Jay and Kay becomes a new, unspoken language in their relationship, a sixth sense of mutual understanding. This quiet acknowledgement is more powerful than any confession. It signifies a partnership that has graduated to a state of complete, wordless trust. The cemetery setting underscores this, as they stand among the silent testimonials of the past, finally at peace with the history they have reclaimed and the future they now securely share. The ethical dimension of the neuralizer is deepened from a narrative convenience into a profound philosophical device. Its use on young Jay poses the central question. Is it ethical to erase pain if, in doing so, you erase a fundamental truth of the self? Kay's choice is a paternal act of protection that inadvertently creates a lifelong mystery for Jay. The film doesn't judge the decision but presents its complex consequences, exploring the moral weight of wielding such power over another's consciousness and the lifelong burden it places on the wielder. The thematic battle over legacy is fought on the field of memory. Boris seeks a legacy of erasure to make Kay an unperson. Jay fights for a legacy of preservation, not just of Kay's life, but of the truth of their connection. The film posits that true legacy is anti-fragile. It is not a statue to be toppled, but a story that becomes stronger and more meaningful when its hidden chapters are revealed and integrated into the present. Kay's ultimate legacy is the agent he shaped and the truth that now strengthens their bond, a legacy that Boris's actions inadvertently enriched. The film's comedic voice remains deeply character-based, arising from the collision of Jay's modern sensibility with the absurdities of the past and Griffin's disconcertingly casual relationship with catastrophe. This ensures the humor never feels like a separate, inserted gag reel, but is organic to the situations and personalities. The laughter provides necessary catharsis from the high-stakes drama, but also deepens our affection for the characters, making their vulnerability and resilience more endearing and their ultimate victory more satisfying. Boris's lunar prison escape is a masterpiece of succinct character establishment through action. It showcases his patience, his understanding of alien ecosystems, and his brutal pragmatism. He doesn't just break out, he weaponizes the environment, turning his captors' resources against them. This sequence immediately establishes him as a strategic and resourceful foe, raising the stakes for Jay's mission by proving that the villain he must thwart is not a mere brute, but a cunning survivor who has spent decades plotting his revenge with meticulous focus. The symbolism of Apollo 11 is perfectly aligned with the film's ultimate message, that hope is an active force that must be launched and protected. The rocket is both a literal and figurative vehicle for Earth's salvation, carrying the ArcNet like a seed of future security. By tethering the plot to this icon of human optimism, the film borrows its inspirational energy, making the climax feel like a defense of progress itself. The victory is thus not just over Boris, but for the very idea of a future worth reaching for. Kay's transformation is crystallized in the moment he looks at the grieving boy and decides to take the burden of truth upon himself. This is the genesis of his solitude, the conscious choice to become a container for painful knowledge so that others can live in ignorance. It is the definitive act of his guardianship, and understanding it allows Jay to see his partner's entire life as a single, sustained act of sacrifice. This revelation doesn't soften Kay, but monumentalizes him, revealing the love and fortitude that was always masked by his stern exterior. The retro-technology design philosophy speaks to the MIB's core ethos of elegant functionality over flashy display. The 1969 gadgets are no less advanced for their time, but their sophistication is hidden within sleek, minimalist forms. This consistent design language across decades visually communicates the organization's timeless values: discretion, efficiency, and an aesthetic that commands authority without unnecessary ostentation. It grounds the agency in a believable institutional continuity. Griffin's proactive guidance reframes the role of the seer from a passive informant to an active combatant in the battle for a better timeline. He doesn't just tell Jay what will happen. He gives him the tools and perspectives needed to make the desired future occur. This makes him a co-protagonist in the truest sense, investing his own safety and agency in the outcome. His character dismantles the trope of the detached oracle, arguing that foresight is meaningless without the courage to act upon it and shape the probabilities one perceives. Jay's navigation of 1960s social dynamics adds a layer of verisimilitude that deepens the film's world building. It reminds us that the MIB's jurisdiction is extraterrestrial, not terrestrial. They police aliens, not human prejudice. This limitation forces Jay to rely on his wits and his badge's ambiguous authority in a new way, showcasing his improvisational skills. It's a subtle reminder that for all their power, the agents are still embedded in, and must navigate, the flawed human world they protect. The concept of found family is tested to its metaphysical limits when that family is undone at the level of causality. Jay's drive is a powerful testament to bonds that are written into the fabric of his being, even before he knew their origin. The MIB, and K specifically, are revealed to be not just the family he chose, but the family that chose him long before he was born, through the bond between his father and K. This revelation elevates their connection from professional camaraderie to a destiny of mutual belonging. The creature design for Boris and his species maintains the franchise's signature blend of the biological and the grotesque, with a tangible, visceral quality. The practical effects lend a weight and texture to his menace that pure CGI often lacks, making his threat feel physically immediate. This commitment to practical artistry preserves the original film's sense of wonder and tangible weirdness, creating a world where aliens are truly alien in form, not just digital phantoms. The mechanics of the time jump are portrayed as a violent, disorienting rupture rather than a smooth transition. The swirling vortex of temporal imagery suggests that crossing time is an act of violence against the natural order, a traumatic passage. This presentation raises the stakes of the journey, emphasizing its danger and the sheer force of will required for Jay to undertake it. It's not a convenient plot device, but a harrowing ordeal that underscores his dedication. Agent O's dual-epic presence provides a through line of competent, compassionate authority. She represents the institutional memory and moral center of the MIB. Her unspoken history with K adds a layer of tragic romance to the agency's backrooms, suggesting that its history is filled with such quiet, unresolved connections sacrificed on the altar of duty. She is the keeper of both its secrets and its conscience. The film's score and soundtrack operate as emotional and temporal cues, with period music anchoring us in 1969 and Danny Elfman's iconic themes binding the eras together. The music often works ironically, juxtaposing upbeat classic rock against scenes of tension or danger, a technique that heightens the film's unique tonal blend of whimsy and threat. It's a sonic reminder that in the MIB universe, the epic and the absurd are perpetually intertwined. The paradox resolves through an emotional and narrative convergence where Jay's personal need for truth perfectly aligns with the universe's need for continuity. He saves time by embracing his own history. The key to fixing the timeline was not a technical solution but a human one, achieving the understanding that would allow the partnership, the fixed point in both their lives, to exist in its full, realized form. This makes the climax intellectually elegant and emotionally fulfilling. Boris's mutilation is a brilliant narrative shorthand for emasculation and loss of agency. His missing arm is a constant, physical manifestation of his defeat and subjugation. His quest is therefore not just for revenge, but for restoration, to reclaim the power and wholeness K took from him. This deeply psychological motive makes his villainy sympathetically human in its origin, even as his methods become monstrous. It's a reminder that great evils can spring from very personal wounds. The production design for the 1969 era extends to the color palette and lighting, which are warmer and softer, evoking a sense of nostalgia even within the high-stakes plot. This creates a subconscious emotional association with the past as a time of both greater danger and perhaps greater authenticity compared to the cooler, more sterile digital present. The world feels more lived in and physically real, which enhances the tactile nature of Jay's adventure. Griffin's humorous delivery of apocalyptic possibilities is a profound coping mechanism for his unbearable gift. His lighthearted tone in the face of multiversal carnage is the bravery of a soul choosing optimism as a deliberate act of defiance. This makes him not just funny, but inspiring. He is actively selecting a hopeful narrative from the cacophony of doom he perpetually hears. His comedy is thus a form of resilience. The film champions the hard truth over the comfortable lie. Jay's entire arc is a pursuit of the painful reality about his father and his past. While the neuralization was an act of protection, the film argues that true maturity and wholeness come from integrating all of one's history, even its tragedies. Only by knowing the full truth can Jay fully understand Kay and himself, achieving an authentic identity no longer based on a benevolent fiction. The launch gantry setting physically represents the thin lattice of preparation and effort upon which humanity's lofty ambitions are built. Jay and Kay fight on this fragile framework, literally defending the structure of our future from a creature of pure destructive chaos. The location visualizes the core MIB mission, to be the unseen maintenance crew, the welders and engineers who ensure the gantry of human progress remains sound enough for the rocket of aspiration to lift off safely. Young K's acceptance of Jay's story is the moment he chooses faith over skepticism, a trait that defines his career. It shows the core of the man. He is willing to believe the unbelievable if it is presented with conviction and evidence, no matter how extraordinary. This open-mindedness is what makes him a great agent, and seeing it in its youthful form allows Jay to reconnect with the essence of his partner, which decades of bureaucratic duty had obscured. Jay's journey enacts the philosophical concept of self-authorship, whereby going into the past he secures the conditions of his own existence and professional destiny. He ensures his own recruitment by saving his future partner and enabling the events that will lead the older K to notice him. This creates a sublime narrative circle where the effect ensures its own cause, positioning Jay not as a passive product of history, but as an active participant in writing his own origin story. The moral complexity of memory alteration is laid bare without easy judgment. The film presents K's decision as a compassionate crime, a theft of truth performed to spare a child trauma. It explores the long-term consequences for both parties, Jay's latent sense of unexplained loss and K's lifelong guilt and isolation. This mature treatment elevates the neuralizer from a plot device to a source of genuine dramatic conflict and ethical debate. Brolin's portrayal finds humor in K's deadpan reactions to the absurd, a humor born of intelligence rather than cynicism. This younger man is amused by the universe's weirdness, not yet worn down by it. This glimmer of lightheartedness makes his later, more subdued demeanor feel like a loss, a fading of that light under the weight of duty. It's a performance that makes us feel the cost of his heroism in human terms. The film secures its impact by ensuring the viewer cares more about the partnership than the planet. The invasion threat provides the macro stakes, but the micro stakes, the erasure of a friendship, are what truly propel the narrative and engage our hearts. This focus ensures the resolution delivers a dual victory. The world is saved, and more importantly, a bond is redeemed, deepened, and eternally secured against the tides of time itself. Griffin's choice to stay with his gem is a retreat into beautiful, static simplicity, a single, perfect timeline of his own choosing. After a lifetime perceiving chaotic multiplicity, he opts for a singular, focused reality. This provides a peaceful alternative ending for a sensitive soul, suggesting that not all heroes must remain in the fray. Some earn the right to their own quiet, perfect moment, forever outside the flow of chaotic history. The costume details are a language of their own. K's 1969 suit, while sharp, allows for slightly more movement, mirroring his more active, hands-on role. Jay's displacement is signaled by the slight stylistic anachronisms in his fit. These subtle sartorial cues silently communicate character status, era, and mindset, demonstrating a level of narrative care where even the wardrobe contributes to character development and storytelling. The deliberate narrative pacing allows the mystery of K's absence to breathe, creating a palpable sense of wrongness in the universe that Jay alone can feel. This establishes the emotional and philosophical stakes before the action begins. We must first feel the horror of ontological erasure, of a life unlived, to fully invest in the dangerous journey to restore it. This foundation makes the adventure feel urgently necessary rather than merely episodic. The ghost of K's romance with O represents the path of emotional connection, sacrificially pruned to allow the branch of duty to grow stronger. It is the personal dream deferred so that the professional mission could be fulfilled. This haunting, what if adds a profound layer of melancholy to K's heroism, framing it not as a path of glorious fulfillment, but as one of quiet, relentless abnegation for a greater good. Jay's adaptability is portrayed as his greatest tactical asset, allowing him to solve problems not with brute force, but with cultural and temporal translation. He understands the spirit of the rules, not just the letter, enabling him to operate effectively in any context. This intellectual flexibility is the true mark of a superior agent, and it is what allows him to succeed in a mission that is, at its heart, a puzzle of identity and history more than a simple combat assignment. The resolution's eloquent silence is the perfect capstone for a relationship built on action and understatement. A dramatic speech would betray their characters. Instead, a shared look at a gravesite says everything: gratitude, understanding, forgiveness, and a love that needs no grand pronouncement. It is a masterclass in subtext, providing a profoundly satisfying emotional closure that feels earned and perfectly in tune with the men we have followed for 3 films. In its final analysis, The film transcends its genre to become a poignant exploration of how we are shaped by the invisible hands of those who came before us. It is about the debts between generations, the silent keepers of our histories, and the journey to uncover the hidden foundations of our own selves. By using the thrilling framework of time travel and alien warfare to explore these universal human themes, Men in Black 3 achieves a rare alchemy, transforming a summer blockbuster into a lasting and moving story about memory, legacy, and the unbreakable bonds of found family. The cinematic architecture of the film constructs a sophisticated inquiry into the nature of causality, positioning emotional truth as the fundamental force that stabilizes time itself. Jay's mission evolves from a simple rescue into a profound metaphysical necessity, where healing a ruptured partnership is the only action that can suture a tear in reality. This premise elevates the narrative beyond conventional science fiction, proposing that the bonds of memory and affection are not merely personal sentiments, but constitutive elements of the cosmos, whose severance threatens existential collapse. The journey thus becomes a pilgrimage to the source of meaning, where fixing time is synonymous with uncovering and honoring the hidden love that structures a shared life. Boris's villainy is defined by a nihilistic desire not just to kill, but to negate, to transform a heroic life into a historical nullity. His plan is an assault on meaning itself, understanding that erasure is a deeper victory than mere physical elimination. This philosophical malice makes him a uniquely formidable antagonist, as he attacks the very concept of legacy, aiming to prove that even the most significant lives can be rendered into empty space, their contributions unwritten. His personal vendetta thus achieves a terrifying universality, serving as a dark mirror to the film's theme. If love and memory build reality, then hatred and oblivion can unmake it. The historical context of 1969 operates as a narrative alembic, distilling Jay's character to its essence by stripping away the familiar social and technological buffers of his own time. His navigation of this era requires a raw exercise of character, confronting prejudices that are both petty and profound. And in doing so, he demonstrates that his heroism is innate, not merely a function of his advanced tools or institutional authority. This segment of the film argues that true integrity is timeless, shining through regardless of the era's constraints, and that a hero's core self is their most reliable instrument in any age. Josh Brolin's performance constructs a vital psychological bridge, illustrating how idealism is incrementally tempered by loss into a resilient, if somber, pragmatism. He portrays the precise midpoint in Kay's evolution, where the optimism of the rookie has been seasoned by experience, but not yet fossilized by decades of solitary burden. We witness the quiet moments of decision where compassion chooses the harder path, each one a brick in the wall that will later seem to surround him. This is a portrait of character in transition, making the older Kay's demeanor not a mystery but an inevitable and deeply moving consequence of a life spent making painful, correct choices. Griffin's perception offers a radical epistemology, seeing knowledge not as a linear path to truth, but as a simultaneous awareness of a blooming, branching multitude of truths. His existence challenges the very notion of singular reality, proposing a universe of perpetual potential where the present is merely the most probable outcome momentarily solidified by observation and choice. His struggle is to find narrative, a single coherent story, within the noise of infinite simultaneity. In guiding Jay, he is not handing over a map but teaching him how to swim in the currents of probability, to become an active participant in collapsing the wave function of his own desired future. The closed-loop structure of the narrative functions as a magnificent metaphor for the inescapable influence of the past upon the present. It visualizes the Ouroboros of personal history, where we are forever shaped by events we did not witness and actions taken on our behalf. Jay's physical insertion into 1969 reveals that he was always a foundational component of his own backstory, an agent of his own becoming. This elegant paradox reinforces the film's heart. We are not self-made, but collaboratively constructed by the loves and sacrifices of others, often long before we are aware of their presence in our narrative. The revelation of Colonel Edward's sacrifice and Kay's subsequent vow of guardianship establishes a powerful economy of honor, where a debt of life is paid forward across generations through mentorship and protection. This transforms the JK dynamic from a workplace partnership into the living fulfillment of a sacred promise. Kay's sternness is reinterpreted as the focused intensity of a man determined to honor his friend by ensuring his son not only survives but excels. Their relationship becomes a covenant, giving their banter and battles a weight of unspoken history that makes every successful mission a tribute and every saved world a memorial. The brilliant narrative maneuver of embedding the ArcNet within the Apollo 11 mission remythologizes a seminal human achievement as a pivotal act of cosmic defense. It proposes a secret history where our collective triumphs are often dual-purpose, serving both our visible ambitions and our invisible survival. This layer enriches the historical event with a thrilling subtext, suggesting that the courage of astronauts was matched by the clandestine courage of agents ensuring their voyage wasn't hijacked by interstellar catastrophe. It's a narrative that celebrates human aspiration while secretly acknowledging it may require unseen sentinels to reach its zenith. The production's journey from fragmented development to cohesive whole likely intensified the focus on the immutable core. The chemistry between Smith and Jones, and by extension, Smith and Brolin. This forced a creative distillation, where every proposed scene or set piece would have been measured against its contribution to illuminating that central relationship. The result is a narrative with remarkable efficiency, where spectacle serves character, and the most dazzling effect is the emotional clarity finally achieved between two men who communicate more through action than dialogue. The aesthetic philosophy distinguishing the two time periods reflects a deeper commentary on the nature of knowledge and experience. The 1969 world, with its tactile gadgets, paper files, and warm, grainy texture, represents knowledge as something earned, investigated, and physically held. The 2012 world of holograms and digital streams represents knowledge as instantly accessible, omnipresent, but potentially more disembodied. Jay's journey is thus also a return to a more experiential, hands-on form of intelligence, reminding him, and the audience, that some truths are felt in the handling, not just viewed on a screen, by making the entire narrative a defense of the JK partnership. The film performs a profound act of narrative conservation, protecting the soul of the franchise from the entropy of repetitive sequelism. It understands that this relationship is the franchise's singularity, the gravitational center from which all other elements derive their orbit and meaning. The plot, therefore, is the ultimate expression of that bond, a story where the very fabric of reality must be mended to preserve it, declaring unequivocally that this friendship is the indispensable constant upon which the world turns. The unfulfilled romantic potential between Kay and Agent O stands as the film's most poignant ghost, a life of shared intimacy that was willingly offered up on the altar of duty. This sacrificed path lingers as the eternal quiet counterpoint to Kay's noisy career of saving worlds. It illustrates the comprehensive economy of heroism, where saving many often costs the one thing that would have saved the hero. This haunting absence gives his character a tragic grandeur, framing his dedication not as a lack of capacity for love, but as its ultimate, redirected expression. The vertical struggle on the Apollo gantry is a masterful spatialization of the film's core conflict, a climb toward hope against the pull of destructive chaos. Each level gained is a victory against oblivion, with the rocket above symbolizing the fragile vessel of the future they must fuel and protect. Boris, the animalistic force of regressive hatred, seeks to drag them down into the muck of personal vengeance, while their mission is to ascend, to lift the protective shield into the realm of human ambition. The setting makes the philosophical battle physically manifest and unbearably tense. Griffin's chaotic neutral guidance embodies a postmodern, quantum approach to destiny. He operates on the principle of superposition, where all outcomes are true until observed, and his role is to help Jay perform the observation that collapses reality into the most favorable state. He is less a guide and more a quantum mechanic, adjusting the probabilities through subtle interventions and faith in the observer's intent. This makes him a uniquely modern mystic, whose religion is probability and whose prayer is the courageous action taken in the face of uncertainty. The eloquent, wordless resolution at the cemetery provides the ultimate catharsis precisely because it honors the character's established emotional vocabulary. Jay and Kay have always communicated through shared action, silent understanding, and dry wit. A tearful confession would betray who they are. Instead, a glance across a gravestone communicates a universe of acknowledgement. I know what you did for me. I know who you are. And I am here. It is a moment of perfect, hard-won peace, where the past is finally laid to rest not through forgetting, but through complete, silent integration. The neuralizer's ethical ambiguity is thrust into stark relief, transformed from a handy tool into a weapon of profound psychological consequence. K's use of it on a child poses the agonizing question of whether it is ethical to sculpt another's reality, even from benevolent motives. The film explores the long-term fallout of this benevolent crime. For J, a life subconsciously haunted by a ghost of a memory. For K, a lifetime of solitary guilt. It suggests that playing architect with another's mind, even to build a prison against pain, is an act that forever alters both the subject and the architect. The thematic conflict over legacy is framed as a battle between different kinds of memory. Boris wields the memory of a grudge, seeking to impose the memory of erasure. J is driven by the instinctive memory of a bond, fighting to recover the memory of truth. The film posits that authentic legacy is not a static monument, but an active, living memory that grows stronger when its full context is recovered. K's legacy becomes not a statue of the hero he was, but the living man he protected and the shared truth that now fortifies them both, a legacy that is anti-fragile and enriched by revelation. The film's comedic engine is powered by the collision between absolute sincerity and absolute absurdity. Jay's dead-serious mission is constantly refracted through the prism of Griffin's delightful fatalism and the inherent ridiculousness of period-appropriate alien weirdness. This humor never undermines the stakes but instead humanizes the heroes, showcasing their ability to find levity in the apocalypse, a survival trait as important as any weapon. It ensures the audience rides a roller coaster of tone that is exhilarating rather than jarring, because the humor is baked into the character's worldview. Boris's prison break is a chilling exhibition of predatory intelligence, showcasing a villain who understands ecosystems and exploits them with brutal efficiency. He doesn't just overpower his jailers. He understands the lunar prison's food chain and inserts himself at the top, turning his captivity into a hunting ground. This establishes him as a threat of nature, an evolutionary predator whose mind is as dangerous as his biology. It makes his pursuit of K feel inevitable and terrifying, the relentless hunt of a perfect killer who has honed his skills on the hardest of targets. The Apollo 11 mission is recontextualized as the ultimate dead drop, a very public event serving as the delivery mechanism for a universe's most secret cargo. This narrative choice brilliantly marries the themes of public triumph and private sacrifice. While Armstrong takes a public step for mankind, K and J are taking a silent, parallel step for mankind's survival. The rocket becomes a symbol of dual-purpose heroism, celebrating the visible pioneers while honoring the invisible ones who made sure the ground they stepped onto was still there. K's defining character moment, neuralizing the boy, is the instant he voluntarily accepts a life sentence of solitary knowledge. He looks at the child's trauma and chooses to become its sole repository, to carry the boy's pain so the boy himself can walk away free. This is the genesis of the older K's isolation. It is not a personality flaw, but a deliberate, monumental act of empathy. Understanding this allows J to see every subsequent interaction not as emotional stinginess, but as the behavior of a man who has already given away more of his emotional capacity than anyone should have to. The production design for the 1969 MIB headquarters achieves a perfect period verisimilitude that speaks to a timeless institutional ethos. The technology is advanced for its day, but obeys a design principle of elegant minimalism and subdued power. This visual continuity across decades silently communicates that while the tools evolve, the mission's solemnity and style are eternal. The organization's aesthetic is its own argument for its necessity and permanence, a visual promise that there has always been, and will always be, a quiet authority in a black suit. Griffin's proactive partnership dismantles the trope of the passive seer, waiting for fate to unfold. He is an activist of probability, rolling dice he can see the sides of, and gently nudging them to land favorably. His collaboration with Jay is a dynamic dance between foresight and free will, where knowledge of the future empowers action in the present to create that very future. He represents the ideal fusion of destiny and agency, arguing that the future is not read, but built, with the blueprints of possibility as our guide. Jay's confrontation with 1960s racism, though brief, performs crucial narrative work by differentiating terrestrial injustice from extraterrestrial threat. It highlights the paradox of his position. He has the authority to negotiate with galactic warlords but must still argue for entry into a whites-only club. This juxtaposition subtly critiques the absurdity of human prejudice while showcasing Jay's dual consciousness. He is a man who operates in two worlds, navigating the intricate stupidities of one while defending it from the existential dangers of the other. The concept of found family is tested to its ontological limits when that family is deleted from the timeline. Jay's desperate fight is a testament to bonds that are not just emotional but existential, woven into the fabric of his identity. The revelation that this family was chosen for him by his father's sacrifice deepens the concept into one of destiny. The MIB is not just where he belongs. It is where he was always meant to be, the hidden answer to a question about his father he hadn't yet learned to ask. The creature effects for Boris and his kin maintain the franchise's glorious commitment to the palpably grotesque, creating aliens that feel like they have weight, biology, and a disturbing evolutionary logic. This practical artistry preserves a sense of tangible wonder, a reminder that the universe is not just filled with light shows but with flesh, teeth, and strange, breathing things. It grounds the cosmic stakes in a physical reality that is more unsettling than any purely digital creation could be. The time jump sequence is portrayed as a violent unraveling and reknitting of the self, a traumatic passage through the raw static between moments. The psychedelic barrage of imagery suggests that time travel is less a journey and more a dissolution, with identity itself briefly scattered across epochs before recohering in a new when. This presentation elevates the act from a plot device to a genuine sacrifice, a willing surrender of self-integrity that proves the depth of Jay's dedication to saving the man who is, unbeknownst to him, his anchor. Agent O serves as the ethical and operational constant of the MIB, a figure of unwavering competence and compassion in both timelines. Her presence provides institutional continuity and a touchstone of normalcy amidst the chaos. The hinted history with K adds a layer of romantic tragedy to the agency's lore, a reminder that its hallways are haunted by the ghosts of personal connections sublimated into professional respect. She is the keeper of its soul, ensuring that the machinery of planetary defense never completely loses its human heart. The film's sonic landscape expertly bridges eras, using iconic period music to inject energy and specificity into 1969, while Danny Elfman's signature themes bind the narrative together with threads of melancholy wonder and heroic whimsy. The music often operates ironically or as counterpoint, placing cheerful rock against scenes of peril, reinforcing the franchise's foundational tone where the epic and the ridiculous are not opposites but intertwined strands of the same bizarre reality. The resolution of the paradox is satisfying because it is holistic. Jay heals time by healing his understanding of his own life. The anomaly was not just in the timeline, but in his incomplete comprehension of his relationship with Kay. By filling that gap in his personal history, he restores coherence to the universal history. The climax thus becomes an act of psychotemporal therapy, where integrating a repressed memory fixes a ruptured reality, arguing that personal wholeness and cosmic order are intimately connected. Boris's physical and psychological wound is the engine of his entire character. The missing arm is a phantom limb of his former power, itching with the memory of defeat. His quest is for a symmetrical restoration, to take something fundamental from Kay as Kay took from him. This deeply personal motive grounds his cosmic scale threat in a relatable human pathology of grievance and shame. He is a cautionary tale of what happens when pain is not metabolized but weaponized, allowed to fester until it seeks to infect all of history. The production's color grading and set design for 1969 craft a subconscious emotional texture of nostalgia and authenticity. The warmer hues, practical light sources, and visible grain create a world that feels lived in and physically present, contrasting with the cooler, more digitally pristine present. This aesthetic choice does more than establish a period. It makes the past feel more emotionally immediate, a place where consequences are tangible and actions have a palpable weight, enhancing the stakes of Jay's intervention. Griffin's humor in the face of multiversal catastrophe is the highest form of spiritual resilience. His light-hearted recitation of doomed scenarios is the bravery of a man who stares into the abyss of infinite failure and still chooses to whistle a tune. His comedy is a philosophical stance, a declaration that since all outcomes are possible, one might as well favor those accompanied by a good joke. He is optimism engineered from first principles of chaos. The film champions the transformative power of difficult truth over the stagnant comfort of a beautiful lie. Jay's journey is an odyssey toward a painful revelation, and his victory is achieved not when he defeats Boris, but when he accepts the full, tragic story of his father and his protector. This hard-won knowledge doesn't destroy him, it completes him, providing the missing cornerstone of his identity. The narrative argues that we are not defined by the pain we avoid, but by the truth we have the courage to integrate and endure. The launch gantry setting is a literalization of societal scaffolding, the intricate, engineered effort upon which leaps of faith are launched. J and K battle on this framework, defending the intricate work of thousands from a force of pure, simplifying destruction. They are maintenance crews of destiny, ensuring the complex, delicate structure of a hopeful future isn't corroded by the acid of hatred before the ignition of ambition can even begin. Young K's willingness to trust J's impossible story is a testament to his fundamental open-mindedness, the essential quality of a great MIB agent. It shows a mind not imprisoned by conventional reality, but inquisitive enough to follow evidence into the unbelievable. This moment of faith is what J rekindles in him, reminding the younger K that the universe is wider and weirder than any protocol, and that trust is sometimes the most rational response to the irrational. J's circular journey enacts the philosophical concept of autopoiesis, self-creation. By traveling to the past, he secures the conditions of his own future existence and profession. He ensures his own mentorship by saving his mentor, closing a loop of cause and effect where he is both the product and the producer of his destiny. This positions him not as a pawn of fate, but as an active participant in writing the foundational myth of his own life, a hero who authored the prologue to his own story. The moral complexity of the neuralizer is presented without dogma, living in the uncomfortable space between mercy and violation. K's decision is shown as an act of love that is also a theft, a kindness that creates a lifelong, one-sided intimacy. The film explores the aftermath for both J's subliminal longing for a ghost and K's paternal vigilance from the shadows. It treats memory not as a record, but as an organ of the self, and its alteration as a surgery with permanent psychological consequences. Brolin locates the humor in K's keen, observational intelligence, the quiet amusement of a very smart man confronted with a universe that is endlessly inventive in its absurdity. This younger K is still surprised by the weirdness, and his humor is that of delighted discovery. This makes the older K's drier wit feel like the echo of that delight, faded but not extinguished, a flame turned down low to conserve fuel for a very long, cold vigil.